Hello, it is me, Joey, from Refilming, as you know, and it is finally the time of year. It is March. It is the time of Zack Snyder's Justice League, and of course, being a huge fan of these movies, of the DC Universe, I decided I need to talk about I love this movie so much. I mean, just from beginning to end, I love it. From the Lion King styled opening to the amazing line at the end where Lois says "Welcome to the planet" and Clark is like glad to be here. It's I think it's a really good movie. I understand the complaints of the movie, but I also don't understand other complaints of the movie. So, I'm going to talk about Man of Steel, because Man of Steel, I love, and I've been wanting to talk about these movies for a while, and now I have a reason, because Zack Snyder's Justice League is coming out in 2 weeks. That's exciting. So, let us start with the cinematography. This is the greatest shot movie in the history of the world. This movie is so beautiful to look at. If you turn the sound off, you'd still want to watch just because of the shots. And, I mean, you go from just simple shots of setting up the scene to huge action shots that are just fantastically made, that go completely with the music, with the soundtrack. You just take in all this beauty, and you don't know what you just take in all the beauty. It's there's that's it. The beauty with what you're hearing, with what you're seeing, with what you're intaking, the information, and you just go from scene to scene. Every scene having fantastic shots. Whether we're talking about the scene where Jor-El walks out and Krypton is at war or whatever, which is possibly my favorite scene of the movie, or where you're talking about just setting up shots with a flashback scene in Kansas with Clark. I mean, seriously, it's beautiful. And that's where we're going to go into the soundtrack, because the soundtrack and the cinematography go so well together that it's like almost like they play hand in hand. Because every time that there's a beautiful shot, it works super well with the music. Again, talking about Jor-El walking out into the war of Krypton. Not really war, but you know what I'm talking about. Where it just gets into this epic, grander, whatever. I mean, Hans Zimmer, this is one of, if not his greatest score ever. I mean, this is just, the score is fantastic. And everything about it is fantastic. Whether we're talking about General Zod's theme, more on him later. Or whether we're talking about Superman's theme, or even just any other scene, really. It's just all amazing. All amazing music. I mean, absolutely gorgeous. Absolutely perfect score. Let's get into the acting. Now, the acting in this is fantastic. Underrated. Because these characters are extremely grounded. Extremely grounded. Every time that there's a little, you just get these little hints. I mean, think about Jonathan Kent, you know, his Clark's father. When young Clark says, "Can I just pretend being your son?" He goes, "You are my son." It was just a perfectly executed line, perfectly. And that's not even getting in to General Zod. Michael Shannon is so amazing in this role. No one else could have played him like Michael Shannon. I don't think anyone else would have. I'm not saying that anyone else couldn't play General Zod, but no one can play him like Michael Shannon. Michael Shannon, right from the get-go, is just... You just got your eyes on him. I mean, I will find him. That is just a fantastic line. And just... when he just looks at Superman angrily and says, "That is what you have taken from me," you know, when his big monologue, it's just, he's a terrifying villain with a purpose, with a absolute fantastic, just a greatly written character and villain. I mean, he's literally born to be General Zod, to be a part of the military of Krypton and to keep Krypton safe, which is explained in the movie, and people still are stupid about that and don't realize that that's the thing. And that's the antagonist. There's also Feora, who's fantastic, a side villain, mind you, so she doesn't really have much backstory to her, but still, like, fantastically written and super cool, like, really freaking awesome. I mean, the way she beats the crap out of those soldiers is just... It's like, dude, they made the Kryptonians scary. And then we go to our protagonist, Clark Kent, or Superman. Henry Cavill is amazing in everything he does. And this is no exception. Like, he was really good in this. He was very mysterious, especially in the first half. And I like that mystery of, you know, this Clark Kent that's trying to find himself and find where he is in this universe. And that's something that's great. And we haven't really had an origin story for Superman, if you think about it. Even Superman, the movie, wasn't really an origin. It had some origins, but it wasn't like this, where you see him really getting started. No. In this, he's not even Superman, really. Not even at the end. He's still trying to find himself. He's not even really Superman in Batman v Superman. And that's why the complaint of, this is not something Superman would do, when he, say, puts those logs in that truck. And my answer to that is, yeah, you're right. It's not something Superman would do. He's not Superman yet. He's still trying to find himself. He's still trying to figure things out, and so he's gonna mess up along the way, which is superhuman. No pun intended. Kind of. No pun intended, but, like, it wasn't even. Henry Cavill, and the way that they wrote Clark Kent in this, I resonated with it completely well. I thought it was great how he was finding his journey, and, you know, you see this in the beginning when he, you know, saves those people at the oil rig, and then just, you know, keeps on going. You know, he gets hired at some cafe, and then he figures out about the ship. You know, he's just trying to find his way, and it's fantastic. And then you get to the flight scene, and he actually finds a piece of himself in that scene. Not just the flight scene, but the scene before that. But that flight scene, I mean, it really is the best scene in the movie. I mean, it's just, the effects on it, it's definitely better than Wonder Woman 1984's. With that being said, I have some little details that I'd like to talk about. Every shot with the sun in Krypton is awesome. I've noticed that I think there's 2 moons, and one of the moons is, like, broken, and I thought that was such a cool detail. And honestly, Krypton was just awesome. Like, it was super creative in the way that it was made, and I thought it was great. The supporting characters are all good. Lois Lane is alright. Amy Adams plays her well. It's just, I don't feel like she was really, I don't know. It's how to explain it. It's not like she wasn't portrayed badly. It's just, she was just alright. And I think she was better in the next movie that we will be talking about next week. But yeah, every performance I thought was great. Martha Kent, you know. Fantastic. No one could have played her better than Diane. I can't remember her name. I'm so embarrassed to say that. I love the symbolism and the kind of relation with Jesus that Zack Snyder gives Superman. Some people might not like that, but I think it's actually I think it's smart because, you know, he of course he would be seen as this type of godly figure. I mean, he can destroy the world. And I think that's absolutely genius, honestly. There was this one part in the movie where a soldier says to Lois Lane, it drops down to 40 degrees or whatever, and Lois at night, and Lois still goes outside and is completely fine, and it's like, shouldn't she be dead, like they said? The tornado scene is heartbreaking, and it's amazing because, of course, Clark could have saved Pa Kent. I like to call him Pa Kent for some reason. I don't know why. But of course, he would want to, and he was about to. And the fact that, you know, John was like, no, just wait. Wait to show yourself. I mean, I think that was just gorgeous. And, you know, being able to save someone, but being told not to, and having to decide not to because it's not the right time. I mean, that was amazing. And Henry Cavill again portrayed Henry Cavill, and I can't remember Jonathan Kent's actor's name. They both just did it so amazingly. I mean, Henry Cavill's scream, I mean, it was just great. And then there's Henry Cavill's scream at the end after he kills General Zod that people seem to just glance over and say that, you know, he wasn't even sad and there was no emotion, and this is starting to turn into a rant. I mean, the fact that people say, if Superman could snap his neck, couldn't he just point Zod's head away? And then what? And then what the fuck would he do? You dumb pieces. Man of Steel is a really good movie. There's so many little details that Zack Snyder is very good at attention to detail. And there's so many details. I do think that sometimes it gets a bit slow. Even though I'd say that every scene is pretty important, I'd say it's still for some reason, there's some sections where I do notice myself getting a bit bored, and it's not I don't know why, but I do, and it's not like I hate that, but you know, whatever. Overall, I'd give this movie an 8 out of 10. I think it's actually a quite good movie, and I think the hatred towards it is a lot more overblown than it really should be. I mean, there's problems with it. Of course there's problems with it. Every movie has problems, and this is no exception. And that doesn't make it a bad movie, though. I mean, you want to complain about the tiniest things, but it's a good movie with a good Superman, a good cast, and I love this movie a lot. I mean, it's one of my favorites. So yeah, Man of Steel. 8 out of 10. Really good movie. Next week, we will be talking about my favorite comic book movie. Now, I know it's not the greatest, and it's not as good as Man of Steel, I will admit. A lot of people say it's a masterpiece. A lot of people say it's not at all. And someone described it as extremely close to being a masterpiece, but extremely far from being a masterpiece, and I would agree with that. I think it's definitely closer to being a masterpiece than it is farther, but I absolutely love this movie. I think it does the characters justice, no pun intended. So, of course, next week, we will be talking about Batman.